YouTube? It is I, Zara Khan, aka Fifth Rate Duelist, aka 5RD. I don't know, some people call me that. Anyway, we have a deck profile on my channel that is not Draytron related. We have the deck profile of the Salamangreat. And my guest here today, he went 6-0 at the freaking Pasadena Regional with this Salamangreat deck. And his name is Brian Rayos, and he is really good at Yu-Gi-Oh! He's on my secret team that I haven't announced yet. Whoops. I guess I just announced it. But I will announce it. Anyway, it's a good team. And you should know him. And he went to Worlds. So, what we're going to do is we're going to have Brian say something about himself.
All right, hey guys, I'm Brian Rayos. For those of you that don't know me, I've been playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Since about 2015. I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Since I was a little kid. So I have multiple YCS tops, multiple national championship tops, UDS top, and I won the World Championships in 2018.
Okay, cool. That is quite impressive. So, long story short, he's a very good player. So, let's go into the Salamangreat deck. We have 42 cards. I'm going to go over each card one by one for anyone who doesn't know what they do, because I don't know what some of these cards do. So, first you have 3 Nightmare Corruptor Ibli.
Yeah, this was this was arguably the second best card in my deck behind the microcoder, which I'll get to next. This is very far from standard for Salamangreat. Usually, you play one of the 2 cyber starters, which is either Lady Debug or Flame Buffalo, because both of those technically get you more cards. But my reasoning behind playing Ibli is that with Despia and Sword Soul being so prominent in the format right now, Ibli is actually just almost an FTK versus both decks, because for those of you that don't know, while you control Ibli on your side of the field, you're locked into only special summoning link monsters, so you can't conduct any other kind of special summon. So for Sword Soul, they can't special summon their Tenyis, they can't special summon their tokens, and versus Despia, well, they can't special summon anything other than link monsters, which they typically don't play any in their extra deck. So it's a card that it's like an extra floodgate versus those kind of decks. Plus, it's a starter because it's a normal summonable Cyberse monster. So really, really strong card.
Oh, I see. So you link it for V-Links and then your opponent gets it. And then they can't special unless it's a link monster.
Correct. And you can chain block around Bell because you can just activate Ibli as chain link 1 and Baylink as chain link 2. So they can't Bell it either.
Oh, that's dirty. Nice. I like that. Okay. Microcoder.
Okay. So this was the best card in my deck. Um, this was like Walter Jewell showed me this card when he was testing this deck. The reason why this card is so good now in comparison to previous iterations of Salamangreat is with the release of the new Decode Talker Heat Soul, which we'll get to when we start talking about the extra deck. So Microcoder, for those of you that don't know, allows you to link using itself from your hand and another monster on the field to go into a Code Talker from your extra deck. So it's like an extra extender that allows you to continue link climbing without having to summon it. And the Heat Soul is a Decode Talker, so it can link you into that. And then another great addition about this card is that when you use it for a link summon from your hand or field, you can either search a Signet Stellar Trap, or if you link it from the field, you can search a level 4 Cyberse monster. So it has three cards you could search, 3 different types of cards you could search in the deck. You could search Signet Mining if you want to continue your plays and extend further to search Gazelle, Spinny, or whatever Cyberse monster you need. It could search Signet Conflict, which is usually what I was searching. Signet Conflict, we'll get to later in the deck, is a counter trap that is really strong. Or it could also search something like Jack Jaguar, Falco, or Foul. If your hand, if there's situations in which it's ideal to search that rather than the other 2 cards. So Microcoder is really strong because it just tutors out any of the Code Talkers in your extra deck and I play quite a few. So, really, really good card, and definitely the best card in my deck.
Okay. I think we all know what Parallel Exceed does. What do you make with this?
With the Parallel Exceed,
Mm-hmm.
you have it's like two main options. If you're going first, usually what you're doing is just using both Parallel Exceeds to make Bagusta. Uh, or if you're going second, you're usually using the both of them to make like Update Jammer when you're trying to link climb to OTK your opponent.
Okay. Cool. One Gazelle, two Spinny, two Jack Jaguar, Foxy, Falco, Foul. I never saw people playing Foul when Salad was a big thing.
Yeah, I played FAO even back then, back in 2019. That's when I got fifth place. I think it went like after Salad initially got hit on the ban list, it was incorrect to play FAO because you had to like use all your cards to get access to Gazelle. But now the deck isn't solely just get Gazelle. Now, like the way I played it was more of a Cybers deck with with a Salamangreat engine, and with Salamangreat Circle at 3. I think it affords you the right to play foul because there's a lot of instances where foul will come up, and you have more access to different Salamangreat monsters now with 3 circles. So foul's really good, and you get access to it. So I really like foul. Also, a lot of people don't know it has a secondary effect other than special summoning itself. Its secondary effect is you can send a Salamangreat card from your hand or field to the graveyard to target one spell or trap card your opponent controls, and then they can't activate it for the rest of the turn. And that's not a once per turn effect. So you could just freeze back row with it too, which is really, really strong. Foul's an awesome card. And the fact that it's a level 4 and can tutor out Baguska as well is just really strong.
Oh, wow. Cool. Thank you for explaining. And we have 3 Veiler, 3 Ash, 2 Bell, 2 D-Crow, 3 Cyno Mining, 3 Salamangreat Circle, 2 Will of the Salamangreat, 1 Sanctuary, 1 Call by, 1 Rage, 1 Roar, and 1 Silent Conflict?
Yeah, so Silent Conflict is a trap card that you can search when you use Microcoder to link from the hand. What Silent Conflict does is it's essentially a solemn judgment. When a spell, trap card, or monster effect is activated, you can chain the Silent Conflict to negate the activation and banish the card. And then the second effect is actually pretty relevant as well. Is that if you negated a card's activation using the Silent Conflict's effect, they can't attempt to activate the card with the same name for the rest of the turn. So it's relevant versus cards such as Rite of Aramisir, Branded Fusion, all cards that say you can only activate X card once per turn. Silent Conflict prevents you from even being able to activate another one, even though it does negate the activation. So it's just an extra interruption going first. It was really good.
Also, it's until the end of the next turn, not this turn.
Oh, you see, I didn't even know that. But honestly, by the time you're resolving Silent Conflict, it doesn't even matter because you're usually winning that game regardless on your next turn.
Okay, I like it. Lastly, we have 2 important. Okay, in this side we have 3 Nibiru, 2 Twin Twisters, 1 Red Reboot, which has got to be one of my favorite cards, 3 Evenly Matched, 2 Anti-Spell, 2 Rivalry, and 2 Grave of the Super Ancient Organism.
Yeah, that was the Grave of the Super Ancient Organism is like nobody really knows about the card, but it's arguably the strongest card versus Despia, and it's still very strong against Sword Soul as well. For those of you that don't know, what Grave of the Super Ancient Organism reads is that um, your opponent cannot activate the effects or declare attacks with level 6 or higher special summon monsters. So versus Despia, they can't activate any of their fusions and they can't attack. And then versus Sword Soul, like all their synchros, they can't activate their effects or attack. So it's a really, really powerful floodgate versus those decks.
Okay, nice. Awesome. I think a guy told me about that once. Can't remember his name though. Okay, in the extra deck we have Access Code Talker, Transcode Talker, Update Jammer, Splash Mage. I think that's all standard. Code Talker.
Yeah, so the Code Talker is actually like I got a lot of people asking me why I was playing that because it's not standard at all. But Code Talker is a generic link 2, which is important. Excuse me. Sometimes you need a generic link 2 because for all your other ones, they require at least a Cybers monster. Um, but the generic link 2 is paramount because sometimes you have to link away like a nib or just a random card. And it's just the fact that it's a link to Code Talker, so that I can like any monster that I summon, if I have microcoder in hand, then I can link away the monster that I have on the field with the microcoder in my hand, summon out the Code Talker, and then usually if I'm summoning this card, it's because my hand is like mediocre, or I didn't. Yeah, it's just I don't have like that many plays. And so by being able to link into this with the microcoder for my hand, it'll get me access to sign up mining, which will in theory get me access to Gazelle and keep furthering my plays. So I was really happy that I played this card. It came up many times during the event.
Awesome. And then this is what a new card, right? Decode Talker Heap Soul.
Yes, this is really the only reason why this deck is playable, if you ask me. Decode Talker Heat Soul is a new card from the new Ghost of the Past 2 set. What it does is, during either player's turn, you can pay 1,000 life points to draw you a card. So if you get this on the field, you're effectively always drawing at least 2 cards, once on your turn and once on your opponent's turn. Um, and again, it is a Code Talker, so it works with microcoder. So usually, if you use a microcoder to link into the Code Talker, not only are you drawing 2 cards, but you're also setting up a counter trap with the Signet Conflict. Just really, really powerful card. And another addition of being able to play this card in this deck now is that it makes your deck less susceptible to losing the Nibiru. There was a cool play that I did that I could have pushed to OTK my opponent, but it was post game one, so I figured he had to have Nib in his hand, especially seeing as he had like 7 cards in his hand. And so I did a really cool play where I did a lot of damage and never. I could have gotten Nib, but I would have already drawn a card off Hitsu, and then I still would have been able to trigger my Gazelle from hand to keep playing and everything. So this card is just like, it gives you so much versatility in this deck. It was so good. It was really, really good.
Awesome. Did you ever use the 2,000 life points or less effect?
No, I did not, because I don't know. Most like honestly, to tell you the truth, I mean, I know we're gonna go to my matchup soon. I was like 2-0ing most of my opponents and just killing them really quick. So I
Okay.
never really got that low in life.
Okay. 1 Helio, 3 Sunlight Wolf, 2 Balinks, 1 Lingaribo, 1 Mirage Celio, and 1 Baguska.
Yeah, the Baguska is probably the best card in the extra deck besides the Kotaker Heat Soul, because Baguska, I mean, shuts off every Despia card. Um, versus Sword Soul, if they don't have Vishuda or like top deck Imperm or whatever, then they have no out either to it. It's just Baguska is just like the best extra deck floodgate monster. It's really, really good.
That's good. Thank you. All right. Chat, if you have any questions, go ahead, drop them. I'm just going to ask some questions to Brian. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of 2-ofs in your main deck and especially in your side deck. What's kind of the reasoning behind that?
Okay, yeah. So at least for the hand traps, I mean, 2 Bell, 2 Crow is kind of standard for people that are playing Bell Crow. You usually don't max out on Bell because you can only activate one per hand, once per turn. I mean, I could have played 3 Crow, but I wanted to play. Um, I wanted to fit into Imperm somewhere in my deck because Imperm is a generic hand trap that can be activated with like almost every deck in the format, and especially at a regional where you don't know. I mean, where you expect to play a bunch of random stuff. You definitely want to have like something like Imperm in your deck. And the reason why I didn't max out on Imperm, even though my reasoning behind it is like I really wanted to play it, right? Is that like the core engine of the deck, like all your Cybers monsters, it takes up a lot of cards. Like you need the 3 Ibli, the 3 Microcoder, the 3 Parallel. You need Gazelle. You need at least 2 Spinny and at least 2 Jag, and you need at least 1 Foxy and one Foul. I mean, you could argue that you don't have to play Falco Foul or whatever, but you definitely need Signet. You definitely need Circle. Like it's so many cards that you have to play that like for the non-engine cards, which are effectively always just going to be the hand traps, really have to work on the ratios for them. And I mean, this was just a ratio that I was happy with. I've played 42 cards at premier events before. I've topped 42 cards at premier events before, so I was fine with that. Um, and then, but I think the like where it really comes up with like what I wanted to talk about was really for the side deck. It was more about deciding the excuse me, the 6 floodgates at 2 apiece. Um, the So you, in theory, like anti-spell, rivalry, and grave. If I'm signing those cards in going first, as long as I see one of those, I should be in the driver's seat for that game in particular because they're such high impact cards versus the decks that I'm citing them in that uh I have that I don't really need like to max out on all three of each, especially because let's say for instance something like rivalry, right? It's strong versus it's strongest versus like something like Despia, but it's not great versus Sword. So for instance, where they play all worms. So I wanted to like have the versatility in my side deck to be able to play the different floodgates that I wanted, and that's why I play like two of each. And then I also wanted to be able to side them in going second, um, without having to compromise like too many spots in my main deck because you can't really side out engine cards and you can't really side out hand traps because those are the cards that are going to keep you in the game. So that's why I couldn't have like I couldn't be siding in way like oversiding in too many cards. Um, and this is just something that I've always been akin to. I don't think math is real. People always, I see a lot of people that post stuff like calculations, like, oh, if I play X amount of cards at these ratios, I'll draw X this card. I don't know X percentage of the time, right? But I don't think that's really real. I've played Yu-Gi-Oh long enough that and played, my different ratios, card, different deck counts, like throughout all my years of playing competitive. That it's not as real as people think. And I mean, just because you play two of something, it's like it it, I don't know. It's not incorrect 100% of the time. Oh, and just one last thing I wanted to touch on. Um, the only card that I played two of in my main deck that I was like really iffy on playing three of was Will, because
So good.
Will is very good when you only draw Ibli, or when you like I don't know if you're like really afraid of Nib. But one, this deck doesn't get hurt by Nib as much because if you Ibli them, then they can't activate Nib against you because again you're locked in a special summoning only link monsters. And two, uh, it's like Will isn't necessary. You don't. It's like the age old thing. You want to see it sometimes, not all the times, and that's like 100% true with Will. Because when it's really good. But when like you don't need it, it's just like an extra dead card in your hand. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I think playing two ofs in your deck is fine. It just depends on like the way your ratios work out in your deck.
Okay, cool. Thank you for explaining. Let's see. Do you want to talk about your matchups now?
Yeah, I'd love to go over them. So, round one, I get paired up against a Dragoonity deck. Uh, so it's your standard regional deck, right? I lose the roll and I get mega comboed, and then I just win out on game two and three. Nothing too special to go over there. Round two, I play against Despia. Uh, I Ibli him, but my hand was really mediocre. My hand was Ibli, Jaguar, Bell, Ash. So my only play was I could start with Jaguar and try to make into a Heat Soul, or I could just give him Ibli and pray that if he can't out the Ibli, then I have Jaguar in my hand, then I can just do everything on my following turn. And it turns out I'm playing against Despia, and he drew the only out in his deck in his opening hand, which was Droplet. So I get OTK'd. Game two, I go first. I open either and I don't know. I open Grave of the Super Ancient Organism, and that's effectively an FTK versus that deck if they don't have a back row removal. So I win game two, and then game three I open the FTK versus that deck, which is just Ash Blossom, and the most he can do is set up a Masquerade, and I'm just able to OTK through that because this deck can just OTK like crazy. So I beat Despia 2-1 in round two. In round three, I play against excuse me, I play against Attic Mister. I go first. I end up with just a Decode Talker Heat Soul with a Cynet Conflict, but I draw. I have two hand traps and I draw a Veiler on his turn off of the Heat Soul, so I effectively have four interruptions, and that just wins me the game. And then game two, he goes first. I believe I have double hand trap again, and then like full combo. So I double hand trap him, and then I just combo through, and I just win again. So I 2-0 Ignister in round three. In round four, I play against a 60 card deck. I roll a 12, so I'm definitely going first. And I have my board is Heat Soul, Signet Conflict, Imperm, and DB Crow. And then off my Heat Soul, I draw like engine cards. I draw Gazelle and Microcoder. So I just have three interruptions, but I just interrupt the deck correctly. Like I Signet Conflict the right, I Imperm a Chaos Ruler, and I Crow a card that he's trying to summon back from the graveyard. So that wins me game 1. And then game 2, my hand was absurd. It was Nib, Ash, Gazelle, Parallel Exceed. So I Ash Fateful Adventure when he tries to search Griffin, and then I Nib him when he has 3 monsters on the field, including a Link 2, so I couldn't get Appaloosa, and then I OTK him on my following turn. So I 2-0'd based. In round 5, I played against another Despia. I Ibly him, and game 1, I win the roll. I Ibly him. He tries to attack into my Heat Soul, but this is something I didn't go over, but I'm glad it's coming up. So the reason why Ibly is so good in this deck is that he plays Salamangreat Sanctuary, and Salamangreat Sanctuary's secondary effect, which a lot of people forget, is that whenever a Link monster you control battles during the damage calculation, you can pay 1,000 life points. You target a Link monster you control. You gain life points equal to its attack, but you reduce your Link monster's attack to 0. So Ibly can never crash with one of your Link monsters because you can always make that Link monster 0. So he tried to do that versus my Heat Soul, but I used a Sanctuary effect, and he just scooped right after that. Game 2, he goes first. He does his full combo, and then my 5 cards are mediocre. I have Sanctuary, Spinny, Evenly Matched, a Bell, and another card that I couldn't activate. And I'm thinking about scooping just because my hand is so bad and he's just opening everything. But I'm thinking to myself, if I draw a Floodgate 6 cards, such as Rivalry or Grave, because I sided those in going second, then the match, I can like turn it around. And I draw Grave of the Super Ancient Organisms on my 6 cards. So I say, perfect. I evenly him. He ends with just a Mirror Jade, and I set Grave pass. But he starts his turn with Twin Twister, so I lose. And then game 3, I go first, and my hand was absurd. It was Ash, Circle, Jaguar, Anti-Spell, Rivalry. He Ashes Circle, but I mean that does nothing because I make a Heat Soul with just Jaguar, and then I draw like an extra hand trap and an extra starter, and I have Anti-Spell, Rivalry, and he has no out, so I win that. And then so I 2-0 that. And then round 6, I play against Sun Avalon. The player actually got 3rd place at the regional. He wins the roll. He messes up his combo. He has Right and Unexpected Die, but he doesn't activate Unexpected Die first because he's just like he was playing way too fast. He's not paying attention. So he just ends with his Adventure Negate, and I have Imperm, and then I OTK him because the rest of my hand was absurd. And then game 2 he goes first. Game 2 he goes first. What does he do? He opens the adventure cards again. Oh yeah, he opens his adventure package, and then he normals a plant, but it's not the vanilla. And then he links into his link and tries to activate the effect. But I'm pretty sure he can't do that. So I read it and I tell him, yeah, you can't do that because the link requires the vanilla to activate its effect or something like that. And so he's like, oh, I didn't know. So the guy, I'm pretty sure the guy was just getting away with like doing illegal activations all day. So he just passes with the Griffin, and I have Imperm Spinny, like Microcoder Parallel Exceed Gazelle. So I just OTK him again. So I 2-0'd the majority of my opponents besides like the 2 Despia that I played, which is arguably this deck's hardest matchup. And after that, I was 6-0, and I guess I might as well just explain why I left. So it was 10 rounds, and I don't like I really enjoy the game. I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh all my life, obviously, but I don't really like staying that late, especially for like a tournament like a regional, which to me doesn't hold like any weight. Obviously, I have many premier tops, and though I consider those of much more significance than like a regional. So I didn't care about winning the regional. I didn't care about topping the regional. I was just there to have fun and hang out with my friends. And we wanted to go to have dinner together, and the place we wanted to go to have dinner the reservations ran out at 6:00. It was 5:00. I said, hey guys, let's just go. So yeah, that's why I left. I just play regionals for fun. I don't take them seriously. So yeah, I was 6-0. I'm pretty sure I could have, if I kept playing that, I would have at the very least topped the event, if not won. And the deck was performing extremely well. I was winning the majority of my matches 2-0, but I was very happy I left because I hadn't eaten all day. I was exhausted, so I just went out with friends. We had dinner and had a great time. But yeah,
Awesome. Yeah, it was nice to hang out with you, and I probably should have gone to dinner with you guys, but I was too busy being really intense during a judge call, and that's all I'll say about that. So yeah, okay, chat, any questions, anything like that? Yeah, it's like Salamangreat is like interesting to me because it was my first non-Gravekeepers deck. Like, I started playing 10 years ago with a Gravekeeper structure deck, and then I came back after 8 years during Eternal format, and someone was like, your deck sucks, why don't you get a new deck? And out of the 4 decks, I was like, well, Salamangreat, I got 3 structure decks for $37. And then I couldn't afford like the sign it minings and like the really expensive
Yeah,
cards.
they were like $40 back in the day.
Yeah. And so I never really got the deck down. I kind of struggled a lot with it, and then I just like quit Yu-Gi-Oh! And then during the pandemic, like Cyber Emergency was reprinted, and I was like, I can play Cyber Dragons, and then eventually now here I am where I am. So I don't know. I always like I'm curious about Salamangreat. I'm like I kind of want to like pick it up just to prove to myself that I can learn this deck.
You know, that's one of the reasons why I think that I perform so well with this deck as well. Is just that I'm so comfortable and familiar with the Salamangreat deck. I played it for such a long time back in 2019, and I mean, obviously, I got fifth place at Nats that year with this deck. I won like many a local tournaments with this deck as well. So I know the deck like in and out. So that's another reason why I felt that I was able to do so well while I was at the regionals. Just I'm really comfortable with it.
Okay, awesome, sweet. All right. Do you want to give any shout outs or something like that?
Yeah, of course. First and foremost, always got to shout out my team, Team Big Dog, Caesar, Francisco, Nuco, Guzman, Remigio, Mueller, Adrian. Obviously, huge shout outs to Walter. He helped me. He always he's like my main theory partner. I talked to him today, and he helped me theorizing for this deck. He was the one that put me on the microcoder. I like talked to him about Ibly and stuff. So huge shout outs to him. Shout outs to my locals, which has rebranded to Stay Weird Gaming. Shout outs to them. Shout outs to my girlfriend who is currently watching this stream.
Yu-Gi-Oh
Shout
players
outs to
have
her.
girlfriends.
Yeah, but we do, right? Crazy, right? So shout outs to her. And I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch of people, but you know, everybody, all my friends. And yeah.
All right, sweet. Okay, thank you so much, Brian. I'm gonna have you on my podcast. I'll hit you up, and
Yeah, I'd love to come on.
yeah, we're how it works is I interview you and then we duel.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yes, I have beat many a pro player purely by accident. So you're going down,
Yeah,
fool. You're going down.
I'm sure I will. I'm sure I will lose.
Okay, alright guys, please like, comment, subscribe. Follow my Twitch, I freaking stream, I swear I stream. You might not see me, but I swear I stream. And check out my podcast, Becoming a First Rate Duelist on YouTube, Spotify, Google Play, etc. Thank you, bye bye!